Hey there, Dango Stu here. Today's video is about pushing on with the vintage outboard restoration and is proudly sponsored by MarineEngine.com. I've got two main goals for today. I want to get the outboard ready to go off to the sandblaster and the powder coaters on, say, Monday, Tuesday next week. And I also want to take the motor itself apart and just see what condition it's in. First thing I'm going to do is take a look at those cracks I noticed in the tiller and see if we can repair those. Before we push on, it's probably worth saying it's becoming a bit clearer what this outboard actually is. Originally, the only marking on it was that it was a JAP motor. It's since becoming obvious that the only part of this motor that is JAP is the fuel tank. I posted about this on Instagram and Facebook, and I think a few people were kind of a bit bummed out about maybe it not being this sort of authentic one-piece motor worth restoring, to its original condition. But it's kind of what I intend to do anyway. I'm not that worried about it, to be honest with you. The motor appears to be a Victor motor, which is kind of cool because it's an Australian motor, so it's nice for me to do something domestic. The leg appears to be, from what I can tell, from an outboard called a Waterboy. And if I look at this leg, it's just identical. This here is the little cover we took off to get to the bottom bolt. The exhaust the same, the hole up here, the exhaust inlet here. Everything about this leg appears to be one of these outboards. Obviously not the original motor, very different, but that's okay. The distributing company was in Victoria, and interestingly, if you look down here also, one of the three partners in this was a Mr. Dango. So it looks like we do have all up. We've got the Waterboy outboard leg, the Victor 125 engine, powerhead, a JAP fuel tank, and a homemade fuel tank bracket and cowling. In other words, it's a complete hodgepodge of parts and therefore perfect for Dango Marine. There's a couple of cracks I can see in the casting of the aluminium here on the tiller. So what I'm going to do is use these three sprays we used on the video for welding a crack in a hull, see if I can find the true extent of them, and then we'll try and repair them. I went through this process of using these dies to find cracks reasonably thoroughly in the welding a crack video, so I'll just do it quickly and we'll see the result. So this is the result. You can see there's two little cracks coming in from the edges, and although I didn't spray the edges, you can see they go almost halfway through, so I'm really worried this is going to snap off. My plan is to plunge an angle grinder through those cracks, just dig them right out. Then I think I need to bend this back a tiny amount, which will close those cracks up. Then I'm going to weld them as deep as I can, grind it flush again, and then see if I can repair the surface to kind of have this mottled effect, maybe with a punch or something like that, so that they don't look obviously like welds. Alright, let's do these cuts first. Here now you can see I've just cut right through both those cracks. So now I've done these cuts, looking inside, it looks like this is actually a brass piece that's just been coated with some sort of silver coating. I kind of took it as being silver and non-magnetic, that maybe it was aluminium, but it looks like it's brass, which kind of fits with the period, I guess. So I'm going to do a bit of research. Looks like you can TIG weld brass. I just need to find some brass filler rods. So I'm going to put that aside for a moment. Might need to order those, we'll see how we go, and do a bit of homework on that. But I'll leave it where it is for now. Definitely needed repairing because I think it's just going to snap off if I don't fix it properly. But we're a bit snookered by the type of metal it is at the moment, but we'll push on eventually. All right, now what I'm going to do is take the rest of the leg apart because I need to get that all sandblasted and cleaned up. So we'll finish stripping that. Unfortunately, this is held together with flathead screws once more. So I'm going to go get that impact driver again and see if we can get these undone. Just testing each one of them by hand before I get into it with the impact driver. I'm thinking this outboard Hasn't seen any salt water, certainly been stored well over its life. It's coming apart way too easily. Not that I'm complaining. In here, don't know what this is, probably just some sort of bushing around. Actually looks like it's down to bare metal there. So I'm not sure what was used as a bushing on this pivot point, but it's obviously deteriorated quite seriously. A little bit left in here too. I think we'll undo that little wing nut next. I presume this wing nut here is just some sort of tensioner for the turning of the motor. One of the ears on that wing nut's broken off. Doesn't surprise me, probably should have cleaned that up a bit more first. I'm almost tempted to cut it all off and replace it with a new bolt and a new wing nut, something made out of stainless steel. The little ears on this wing nut turn out to be really fragile, and it's also tapered up slightly, so it's really hard to get a grip with vice grips. The other side's just a smooth dome as well, so to be a bit pragmatic about it, I'm getting close to thinking I might cut this nut off and replace this bolt and nut with something stainless, just to make it easier and more sort of maintenance friendly in the future. Definitely use another wing nut, because this is the tensioner, so it's nice to be able to sort of adjust that on, out on the water without using any tools. But this was just very badly corroded and nowhere near strong enough. I'm not worried about the bolt itself because I'm going to replace it, but I don't really want to damage this band at all, because I'll keep that. So I'm going to have to have a good think about how I can get that undone without, any collateral damage. Because there's a slightly rough surface on it where the old wings of the nut have come off, I'm actually going to try one of these sockets we talked about during the removing broken bolts video that sort of grip onto just about anything. The 10mm seems to fit, so I've sprayed it. I'm actually just going to try and put an impact gun on, see if it comes off. I don't think I've got anything to lose at this stage. Certainly that's something that might damage the bolt a bit further, but it's not going to damage the band that I'm trying to preserve. So no, I think it's just round those last little bits off. Alright, time for a little bit of delicate angle grinder work, I think. I've done a little cut down through the nut, not quite to touch the bracket here. Then my plan is to use a chisel and see if I can separate it. This is a technique that's commonly used with, say, bearing races that are stuck. You kind of cut almost through it, get it to the point where you can get a chisel in, hit it, hopefully it'll separate and fall apart. So I'm going to try that. This is what the chisel looks, just a sort of a wedge shape, so hopefully you can get it in and break it. Having said that, brass, this appears to be a brass nut as well. It's a very soft metal, whereas bearing races are very brittle, so we might have a different outcome, but I think we'll get it off. That part of the nut's broken off now, so let's see if we can get the rest off and then get the bolt down through. Alright, looks like we can wind it off now. So, wing that off, just wound it off once the pressure was off because a bit of it was missing. And the band here that I was hoping to keep in good nick doesn't seem to have copped any damage from that, no angle grinder marks or anything. So now we'll get that bolt out. So this is the bolt, dome head but with a square here to stop it spinning. I think I'll replace the bolt and the wing nut entirely. So what we do have though is the two springs and the tensioner band. Here on the bracket now you can see this is the bushing that used to allow it to pivot. There's a bit of meat left on it, but I've actually got a mate who runs a polyurethane manufacturing company. Might talk to him about making a replacement. The leg itself now though, we could perhaps use a stud removal tool to try and get this stud out, but to be honest with you, not really seeing the need. I think I'm going to send this off as one unit now to the sandblasters as it is. With the swivel bracket though, I'm going to take this tilt bolt out though. Looks like a 5/8 nut fits pretty well. Once again, dome head at this end, but you've got to presume that it's got the square to stop it spinning. So give this a bit of a spray. and then let that soak in while I go get a beer. In case you're wondering, Ecken Brewery, just down the road, really cool. This bolt's not too bad. No heat, no impact gun, just coming undone. Couple of washers in between the centre bracket, unsurprisingly. Don't know what this bolt's made out of, but looks like it shouldn't be hard to find a replacement if we choose to. But for now, I'm just going to keep it all together. The last little bit is this little bracket that went around the leg that needs to come out, and it also has a wing nut, unfortunately. So once again, bit of a spray, wait. If it breaks, you know, it's replaceable. I guess it's probably worth mentioning at this point that, you know, this is a Bitzer motor, you know, it's a bit of a Frankenstein. If perhaps you were restoring something and you wanted every nut and bolt to be original, you might take a more gentle approach, but I'm not worried personally. It's my project. This wing nut's pretty tight. I am going to try a little bit, just see if it makes any difference. Alright, well thanks for watching. I'm going to go get those parts off to the sandblaster and the powder coaters during the week, and then next week we're going to start looking at the Victor engine itself and the carburetor that goes with it. Alright, well take care and I'll catch you then. See ya.